evening, wherever
Mhm.
you are. So we'd just like to welcome you to our Sunlight Education Training. This has been well waited for. We've been waiting for this for a while. I know you've been so patient. So just God bless you in that and for your patience. So we are going to begin. So let's begin with a word of prayer as we have a few people still coming in. And I'll pray. Heavenly Father, what a privilege it is for us to come together this Sunday afternoon where we can come together and share with each other what we've been learning. And particularly as Sister Jacqueline Brown shares with us, I pray, Lord, that you will be with everything that is shared. I pray, Lord, that all the questions that are on the hearts of the families will be answered, and you'll be able to show us how we can, in our own homes, use this wonderful curriculum that you've provided, this Bible-based curriculum, and that we can have our homes centered around you so that our children can be taught of the Lord and they can be trained for your glory. We give you thanks and praise, Lord, and be with those that are on their way as well. For this is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
So just before I hand over to Sister Jacqueline, just in case you don't know who I am, I can see some familiar faces here in the Zoom room. So my name's Angela Woodburn, and I'm one of the co-founders to the ministry, True Education Ministries, which is hosting this series of Sunlight training. So I'll tell you a little bit about ourselves. So our family, we began this ministry in around 2007, and we started this ministry with another family called the Blackburn family, and we were just eager to really just learn about homeschooling. And as we prayed, the Lord gave the name True Education Ministries. So that's what brought us to this point. And we literally just wanted to share what we were learning. And it was almost like one beggar giving food and finding and giving food to another. So we just saw ourselves as beggars for this true education. We just heard about what true education was. Our children were young. I had mine in school, but Arlene and their family, their son hadn't been in school. So we just wanted to share with others what we were learning. So welcome. You can put your cameras on. It'll be really friendly for us. I saw you. I saw you, Sister Michelle. It's lovely to see you. So I was just sharing a little bit about True Education Ministries, but do feel free to keep your cameras on so we can see you. We're all friends here. We love you. It's wonderful to see you. Yeah, so we just want to be able to share. So this is going to be an informal hi. Wonderful to see you, Samantha, the Noswello family. Really nice to see you. So, and wonderful to see the Mendes family as well. Lovely to see you. And we can see the Noswello family. There's Samantha and Mom. Welcome. Brother King, lovely to see you. I can see a few other familiar faces. So just before we begin, I just was just sharing a little bit about who we are at True Education Ministries, and we'll be hosting. Lovely to see you. Is that Caleb? Yeah. Yeah, so it's just wonderful to see all the families that are here. I think a few more will be joining us as well. So yeah, we started about 2007 just with a desire to share what we had been learning as a homeschool family. As a family, it was trial and error. It was very new to us as well as homeschooling families, the principles of true education. So it's been a journey for us, and it's brought us to this place where we've been able to, praise God, work with many of the families along the way. One of the families we met was the Brown family on this journey. And this evening, Sister Jackie is going to be sharing with us Sister Jacqueline Brown from the Medical Missionary Group. And so I don't want to say too much. I really just want to just let you begin. What we will do is, if you have any questions, do put them in the chat. So basically, this is how the ministry started. One thing I should add as well with our ministry, True Education Ministries, is as we've been going along over these past few years, we had another artist, Jasmine, has just entered in, come into the room, and she also has joined True Education Ministries. So we're going to be on this journey with you over the next few months. We're going to have one this evening, and then we're going to have for the next month. Always will be the second Sunday of each month until January. And then we're just going to see how we go. We're going to see how we've been on this journey and whether or not we need more, because we're really happy and willing to share with you more, and even as families as well, if you want to share. So we're at this stage in our journey now. It's so wonderful to see many of you with us, so welcome again. God bless you all. Any questions, do put them in the chat, and Sister Jacqueline is willing to answer as she goes along. And then she'll just answer some of your questions. So every now and then, when she's ready in her presentation, she will say, are there any questions? And then I'll take your questions from the chat. But also, you know, you can be interactive and say things as well. But we'll just work with that flow. All right, Sister Jacqueline? Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you are ready, over to you. So we just want to welcome you, and we're just going to pray that God bless our time together. We've prayed already, and we'll put it over to you. Okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all well and enjoying the Sunday afternoon. Lots to do, I'm sure. We've been really busy. We open our home to individuals who are seeking health restoration, and it's been such a blessing. This is one of the times when there are people here. So the children are here with me. They're assisting, preparing dinner, and then they'll serve. And this has been part of our education, but when we started out, we couldn't foresee how it was going to pan out. And so I just want to show you just some pictures of our journey, really. And I'm going to talk my way through. And if at any point you want to ask any questions, please feel free. It's very informal. We're all here to learn from each other. And I didn't want all of it, but it's good. And you know, and be able to interact freely, you know, it's not, yeah. So please, just if you have any questions, don't hesitate. Where did it all start? It started really when, okay, so Winston and I got married in Manchester, and we lived 8 years in Manchester. Coming from down south, an area called Middlesex, and Winston is coming from Stoke-on-Trent. So we were in Manchester for 8 years, and that's where we had our first 3 children. I was introduced to the church and got baptized. In fact, I got baptized and then got married in the same year. Then we started having our children. Before we had children, I was reading, you know, the usual books, family, Adventist home and but I, you know, some things I agreed with, some things I didn't. So to be honest, I just applied at the time what I felt comfortable with, because I guess I was still learning about, you know, true biblical living in terms of taking what it says and then applying it with God's help. So I was coming from a Catholic background and had much to learn and unlearn. So fast forward, God leads us into wanting to do missionary work. At the time, it was mainly evangelism. The health part wasn't really part of it. And I have to tell it like this because everything runs kind of parallel to each other. So as we were wanting to do missionary work, there was stuff going on in the school that we had put Tia in. Now, when Tia, who's our eldest, she's now 18, she's going to be 19. And she, okay, backtrack. When I had Tia, the plan was I would stay home for a year and then go back to work after a year. After a year, I just couldn't find anyone that I trusted enough to leave her with. So I decided to stay home until she went to school. And then I retrained as a childminder and thought that's something I could do from home while while, I was bringing her up, kind of thing. We were bringing her up. Now, Winston was mostly at work. He worked at the time. He's a graphic designer, pastor. So most of the day, he wasn't really with us. He came in the evening, said hello to the children, spent time, and then, it was bedtime. So that's just the norm, isn't it? Now, when Tia reached age 5, actually she was on the brink of age 5 because it was in September, and she turned 5 in the October. Because I was other children in our home, I was taking some of those to school, to various schools, and I came across a school called Prestwich Prep. And I was taking this child there constantly. And one day was like, oh, wow, this school is great. Maybe Tia could go here. Convinced Winston to, invest in putting her in that school. And he agreed. By now, I've got Michaela, who came 2 years after Tia. And have I got Danielle yet? Yes, maybe Danielle is actually a baby. So Tia goes into school. She seems fine initially because it's preschool and, it's mainly playing and so on. 6 months later, we start anticipating, experiencing difficult issues. She wouldn't want to go. In my head, it's like, well, yeah, she doesn't want to go because she wants to stay home with the children that I have at home. And after all, that's just how it goes. I have to cut the apron strings at some point, because remember, I'm planning to go back to work. So she continues to go, and then she starts bedwetting. And we're like, this is really strange, because Tia stopped wetting her bed. She literally forced us to, to train her. And by age 2, she wasn't, she was waking up and asking to go to the toilet. So something was amiss. I asked at school, everything is fine. She's playing nicely. Unbeknownst to me, they had moved her up to the next level, because they were saying that she was finding the level that she was at, kind of the nursery level, a bit boring. So they had moved her up. And this is where the problem started. So she was experiencing bullying because, there were other children there who were slightly older. She was experiencing, isolated and felt unprepared. And I didn't know, so I couldn't prepare her. Long story short, we removed her from the school. And my idea was to put her in another school. And it was Winston who said, why don't we just homeschool her? I'm like, pardon? Homeschool her? Well, what does that mean? He said, well, we have been counseled to homeschool. Why don't we just do that instead of taking her out of here, putting her in there and just making things worse? And I said, and who's going to do this? Remember, my mindset is I'm going back to work. Yeah, this is how it goes. And he said, well, I'm working, so I'm going to have to continue to work. I will help. But yeah, it's supposed to be the mother that mainly homeschools the children. I was like, oh my. So that's it. My life is done. My life at work, all the plans that I had in my head is done. This is where I was. So this is the backdrop in which we took Tia out of school, not really school, preschool, and started homeschooling her at home. And all I knew was, okay, so she's at home. Let me see what she was doing at her school, and let me just simply try to continue it. But that gave me a lot of headache, because I was looking after other people's children and my own, and I was trying to homeschool Tia. In the midst of all of this, God called us into mission, so we went into missionary work, and that was such a blessing. Now I was seeing the benefits of homeschooling, because now I don't have to answer to anybody. We just pick up our children and off we go. And that's what we did. Fast forward 2009, we are now in Wakefield doing Task Force. Task Force was it's an initiative by the NAC where individuals go into an area that is not doesn't have any Adventist presence and set something up, church planting, social initiatives, etc. So that was us. I was mainly at home with the children, while Winston with a small group went about doing these things. And here my frustration began. Yeah, we were doing different things, kind of clutching here, grabbing there, trying to put things together. I had gotten rod and staff, the beginners pack of rod and staff from Jack and Joy and from the Gomez's as well. We had received a ladder of life. Now, these were good resources. So rod and staff, it was beginners pack, and then it was the ladder of life. So this is what we used besides the Bible. And then I reached a point where I felt really overwhelmed. I think part of it was because I thought I was doing okay, but then, you know, when my husband would get home, it's like, what did they do today? And then sometimes they'll say, we didn't do anything, Daddy. We just went to the garden. And it's like, we didn't do anything. We've been looking at bees and butterflies. And so then you'll be like, you need some kind of curriculum. You need something real. You need to. And then you feel really kind of inadequate. You're thinking, maybe I am messing up my children's lives because I'm not schooling them properly. I don't know if I can do this. And I remember being really frustrated, and then I looked for help, and I got a number for Neil Lawrence. So I called Neil, we spoke, and then he asked me interesting questions like, okay, you're getting, you know, you're kind of frustrated with homeschooling. How are you homeschooling? So I told him, and he said, how was Jesus homeschooled? He said, you do know that Jesus was homeschooled. I'm like, okay, fine. If you say he was homeschooled, he was homeschooled. He said, how was he homeschooled? Now, at this time, I'm like, you know what? I'm calling you for help. I need help here. I don't need you to school me. That's exactly what I needed. I needed to be unschooled and schooled. So, but I said, I don't know. And he said, Bible, life, Bible, nature, the life work, you know, daily work and life experiences. I'm like, what's that got to do with me? He's like, that's how you should teach your children. And if you teach your children that way, you'll have less stress. And he said, I'm going to put you in touch with somebody. And so he gave me Angela's number. And we talked, and it was such a blessing. And we were able to share. And she said to me, by the way, there's going to be a series of presentations by this lady called Jeannie Cook. She's written this curriculum called Sonlight, and it's a strictly Adventist curriculum. Why don't you come to Northampton and join? I'm like, really? Okay, let me speak to my husband and I'll get back to you. And so we found ourselves in Northampton, learning about Sonlight and how to use it. And this is where our Sonlight journey, I guess, begins. And I'm going to just share my screen. If I can find my presentation. Okay. Before I start the presentation, are there any questions?
None in the chat as yet. I don't know if anyone's got their hand up. Let's see.
Okay. So much was happening. So remember that we're in ministry now. We are in a semi-rural place at the time when we learned about Sonlight. And we went to Northampton, met Jeannie, met lots of other families. And Jeannie took us on a journey of how to use Sonlight. To be honest, I found it was great, but I was just trying to get my head around it because it was something I'd ever known. And though I desired it, I knew it was going to be hard. Winston, on the other hand, loved it. He was so enthusiastic. He was like, this is great. This is what we've been for, you know. Forget rod and staff, you know, that can only take you so far, and then you have to drop it because it starts introducing their doctrines into the curriculum, because he looked into it. We were even thinking about more academy, you know, thinking about so many things. And so Sonlight came, and it was like, this is it. And I think before we left, Winston had ordered the full set of the first year, you know. I was like, yeah, great, we found something. But I was less enthusiastic because I just didn't know how this was going to teach our children and prepare them for life and for work and whatever else. And so as you see us there, you see Angela and her family there. You see, Al and his family there. You see Gina Cook to the far of my right. And it was wonderful. And we had a wonderful time, and we were all encouraged, and then we left and went home. When we got home, Winston did everything, and he said, you know, you need to start using this, but I couldn't. I really couldn't. I looked at it, I prayed about it, but I was just like, where do I start? So what I purpose to do, okay, I'm going to just continue. I'm going to follow what Neil kind of suggested: Bible, nature, life, you know, the life work, life experiences, etc. So that's what I followed because I was more comfortable with that. So I didn't touch Sonlight until, in the course of time, we moved to Scotland, because I'm expecting my fourth child, who was due in July 2010. So our missionary endeavors, what we'd hoped to do and where we'd hoped to go after task force, came to an end because I was expecting a baby. And the idea was, let's go somewhere where God finds for us, have the baby, and then continue our missionary endeavors. And this is how we came. Scotland. Right, let me try and. Oh, I'm a bit stuck. Bear with me. And so once we came to Scotland, initially it was really hard as well. I was expecting Levi, and I felt there's so much pressure to also homeschool the girls. Of course there was. Now we are in a country place. There was no reason why I couldn't use Sonlight, in that, you know, there was nature all around, and, you know, I could utilize that to teach them. But I found it difficult to get my head around Sonlight. And so initially, in the very beginning stages, when we got to Scotland, Winston took over and began Sonlight with them. Started with the, you know, number one, trees. And I would just sit and kind of observe and still wonder, okay, how is this going to be a teaching tool for the children? So after a while, I prayed and I asked God to help me unlearn all the stuff I had learned that I thought I knew about children, about education, and just to teach me, just to help me understand Sonlight. So then when I took over from Winston, or rather when I started working alongside him to use Sonlight, I came from a standpoint of a learner, not a teacher. because I had to unlearn and allow God to teach me how to even use it. And then I was able to start to teach them. But I told them, I would share with them that mommy doesn't know what she's doing, but mommy is leaning on Jesus to help her. So cooperate with mommy. Then if we all cooperate with Jesus, then we can work together. So all along, it was, we all are learning together. And that was the approach. So as we started with Sonlight, it was reading the 10 principles. To be honest, I didn't even finish reading it. I kind of went back to it over the years, on and off. I didn't sit down in one sitting and finish the whole thing because I was already in it. So there was no real time for preparation. So I just kind of read as I went along and learned as I went along. One of the things I learned was, okay, incorporate the children in everything you do. I'm like, oh my goodness, how will I ever get anything done? So we started in the kitchen. Okay, mix this. Okay, get that. Okay, sweep here. All right, give Levi a book while we do this. And that's how it went. Okay, sweep the floor. So I started to give them chores, little things. And with that, we would consider object lessons. So how did we use Sonlight? We would, in the morning, use Sonlight as our worship tool. So the children would rise, make their beds, say their prayers, and wash. So this was all part of their school. So hygiene and sanitation, it wasn't given a name, but this was all part of their schooling. Then we would have family worship. We will use the lesson as our family worship. Now, initially, the children were real young. So some of the beginning books, like trees, I had the main book and I had the little children's. And I had also the activity book as well. Yeah. So I would look through the lesson, then pick out some important aspects of the lesson, have some images to go with it, and then in the morning, teach it. And maybe you might want an example of that shortly, and I'll be more than happy to do that. So I had to incorporate the children in everything I did. So that's me standing up on that stool, probably making bread while Levi swept and the girls did something else or other. And again, now we are in a country place. I have to say that it made life a lot easier because the children were now more free, and there was a lot more to I suppose to relate to and to draw lots of lessons from in the book of nature. Because what we would do after breakfast, after worship, we would have breakfast, and after breakfast, we'll go for a walk. And on our walk, we would do nature. Not necessarily the nature in the book, but whatever we found around us, we would consider, we would inspect, we would talk about, we would discuss. And then when we came home, we would do the nature that went along with whatever lesson we're doing. So for example, trees. This is them measuring, the width and the length of trees. And, so we made it practical as well as sitting down and teaching, so to speak. So initially, it was a lot of practical, actually, a lot of outside work and trying to, get them engaged in their surroundings. And then we would come home, I'll print out the activity, and then we would apply. So here they're coloring the tree. Another thing I was learning was that keep things real. So trees generally are not silver, although if you give me a reason for why your tree is silver, it can be silver. So again, Sonlight was teaching me that I need to teach them to exemplify truth. Again, that's a Bible principle. At school, they're learning use your imagination. You know, the tree can be any color you like. It can look any way you like. And so even that, I had to learn to teach them, okay, what color are trees? You know, they can be yellow, especially if they're turning. Mommy, it's autumn. Sometimes Michaela decided her tree was pink. Okay, why are the leaves pink? Well, Mommy, some leaves turn pink during winter. She has a point. In which case, fine. So it's an not winter, autumn. It's an autumn tree. That's fine. And so we were learning together on this journey. I did lots of reading. There you have me sat there. We did Sonlight anywhere. If, for example, I didn't finish in the morning, or I didn't finish a point, or I had to continue, we would pick it up sometime in the afternoon. Yeah. So we would use the family Bible lesson as a worship tool. Then we would have breakfast, go outside, and use our surroundings also as a learning tool. Then we would come back in and do the activity that went with the family Bible lesson of the morning. If I hadn't finished it for whatever reason, then I would continue after we came back from the walk. Yeah. So also alongside the family Bible lessons, I would also have books that would mirror what we were learning. So this book is a set of 4 actually that covers trees. It looks at rocks and minerals. It looks at butterflies, looks at birds. And if you look at the Sonlight recommended, you know, what do you call it? Books that would work with each lesson or each family Bible lesson, we would just select, you know, 1 or 2 books, supplementary books that we would get, so that they can be looking through as we looked at the various aspects of Sonlight. But also just keeping things real, helping them to help in the home. Here, Tia sorting the cutlery drawer, you know, while I'm probably somewhere along the way doing something else, you know. And this doesn't seem like anything, but it was part of their education, it's part of their learning. I'm going to show you a video here. Sometimes life was like this. It seems really chaotic. It seems like no one's learning anything and nothing is happening. And I'm sure you've had one of those days and you just feel really overwhelmed, like you're just a failure that day. Be encouraged that it's not so, that with every situation they're learning. And most importantly, you have to keep connected to God. And I think that's the key to using Sonlight. We have to connect with God. And then as He teaches us, we can teach them. And even when you know things are not working according to the schedule, patient, look to God and keep your cool, because they watch us more than anything else, and they learn from us more than anything else or anyone else, especially when you're with them, you know, basically 24/7. Now, in this clip that I'm about to show you, Winston is in the background, but he's busy trying to figure out how we're going to be self-supporting. We don't have any money. And as you can see, we are basically living in 2 rooms. The Aga is in the kitchen, so it's the warmest place, right? And next to the kitchen is the dining room. And so when it got a bit cold and we didn't have sufficient money to buy oil to put in a tank, we would all literally live in the dining room and the kitchen during the day. So the children will be there and Winston will be at the computer trying to find ways and means to support the family.
Sorry, can you talk about please?
So this looks chaotic, right? But this was part of our homeschool. And that day, I remember it so well. Nothing was just going right. Nothing was following according to schedule. But in that moment, I just thought, okay, just let it be. Just let it be. And sometimes, some days you're going to have to do that, but find something useful, something edifying for the children to do while you have one of those days. And it's okay to have one of those days. And just take a little time to regroup. Any questions at this time?
Yes, we do have one question.
Okay.
I will ask the question, and then I have said to the sister that if she wants to elaborate, she can. Right, but I think you've kind of answered it a little bit, but let's ask it anyway. How do we know that our children are getting all the education and knowledge that they need?
That's a good question. For me personally, as we started on the curriculum, how did I know they were getting everything they need? Well, I had to trust God. And that's what I'm talking about when I say that we have to really be connected with God and trust that his ways and his methods do work. Because initially, I'm coming from a place where education is very important and lifted up highly. And so my hopes for my children's education were similar. And so that's why I struggled with Sonlight initially, because I couldn't see how it married with my ideas of education for my children. But then I had to take it to God. And he taught me, and he told me that his ways are not my ways, neither my ways his. And that if I was seeking, because above everything, I was just seeking for my children to know the Lord and desire him and to do his will, whatever that was going to be. And he had provided for us a curriculum that basically prepared them for that. And though my mind could not grasp it, I had to just trust God and recognize that as I simply put it into practice, he was going to do the rest. Example, it's not that your children are not learning. So as we went out for walks, we will count the trees, we will count the cows, we would count the things around us. We will look at shapes. Ooh, that shape looks like this, or that shape. So you introduce numbers and letters and shapes and things to them. But what is different is that wasn't a structured, okay, it's 9 o'clock, everybody sit down at your desk and get out your workbook. It was more free, but it was also more holistic. So you had the outdoor and the spiritual application and the object lessons. And then you came home and then you did the activity that went with the morning. So you're looking at dexterity, you're looking at, neatness, and you're looking at, other skills. Then it may be that we transition to the kitchen, to prepare lunch. Here you're looking at, okay, let's look at, maybe I'll give Levi something to play with, possibly made, with water, because he enjoys playing with water at the time, and it maintained his attention, while the girls are stood on stools, maybe, using what do you call it? An eating knife, what do you call it? To cut really simple things like cucumbers and, soft things. So all of this became part of their education. So education became more than ABC and 1, 2, 3, and it became about life. Yeah. I hope that answers the question.
Absolutely. Okay, I just got another quick question. I think she was typing just a second, but thank you so much for that. I think you've explained it very well. The next point is, feel free, sister, if you want to talk, you can put your hands up, because I'm not sure if I get it exactly how you want. So you said that exactly is what it has been, why it's been hard for me with the schedule, and how to study with nature and examples outside, not at the desk, but I end up in the same problem again and again, and I get frustrated. So
Okay.
this is what the sister's saying. So let me just check. If you do want to say any more, sister, please do put your hand up, and then I can spotlight you.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just remove myself. So yeah, so
are
you able to elaborate? So she's saying that scheduling is an issue, how to study with nature and being outside, and not doing it in what I would say, or we'd say, the Greek way, not doing it at the desk. But she's saying, this mother, that she does end up with the same problem again and again, and she's getting quite frustrated.
Okay. I think we had a schedule. There was a schedule. It's important to have a schedule. After having the baby, Levi, sometimes the schedule didn't run exactly as it was supposed to. For example, if the children were supposed to be up at, let's say, 8 o'clock, and by 9 o'clock, we ought to be having family worship. Sometimes it's 9:30. That's okay. I had to learn to let that go. Just follow the plan as it's outlined. The time might be slightly off, but just go with the program that is set out. In terms of frustration of not being able to kind of connect with outside of the nature aspect, I think that's something that grows. For example, if we're learning about trees, and trees, we're taking it right from Genesis, the beginning. So as you go out, you're like, okay, what day did God make trees? Okay, what day did he make trees? And then the children are learning day 3. Wonderful. What else did he make on day 3? He made flowers. Yes. What else? Grass. And then they identify all of those things. And then you might even say, well, let's count all the things that you have identified out here that God made on day 3. So you are linking their family Bible lessons, but you're also, looking at numbers. You're looking at the relation between what he made and what they can see around them. I read a quote that said, it becomes so intrinsic to their thinking that they cannot look at the sky without thinking about God. They cannot look at a blade of grass without thinking about God. So whatever you find their attention is geared towards, you bring the lesson into it, or you bring God into it in a way that they can understand. So according to their age or their sphere of understanding. So there has to be a schedule. I think I neglected to share that in the beginning. There has to be a schedule. I think that gives you an outline of your day. The point is that if every single thing on that schedule is not done throughout the day, don't get frustrated, because that's the beauty of homeschooling. You can tag it somewhere else. Teach one thing at a time, teach it well, and enjoy it. And if they see that you are enjoying it, they are likely to enjoy it as well. I'll continue for now. If you do have a comeback question, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Okay, you have answered it. She said, thank you so much. You have answered her question. Okay.
Praise God. Another thing that we used to do a lot was go to museums and look at things around us. So we incorporated history, not by saying, oh, now we're going to do history, but I simply kind of used resources around me that would enhance their learning. So we're learning from the Bible perspective, but we're also going to learn about, history in terms of where we are living. Here we are at a museum. They're looking at iron. There's something else. This used to be an iron back in the days, and now we have our iron. Wow. God is so wonderful in how he's given us wisdom to know how to make the iron better and better and better. Then we can discuss, wait, what's the advantages of the iron back in those days? What are the advantages of our irons today? So you are learning, let's look at moths and butterflies. We used to, again, visit museums or visit places where they would have the different butterflies and moths. And I think I bought a couple. And then if we found some around us, we would get a magnifying glass and have a look at the intricate design. Amazing, every scale. And, looking at the head, the thorax, the abdomen, looking at it in close detail. So we used those things around us. We had the backpack with the magnifying glass, with the torch, with the pencil and paper, and so that when we went around, even if we saw like a dead butterfly, we would actually collect it, so that when we came back home, we would sit down and really study it. And it made them, feel like little scientists, because that's exactly what they were. This is science, true science. And, they found it themselves, and they can come up with amazing, applications or object lessons that they have seen that I haven't even noticed. Again, here we are at a museum, reenacting a scene from whatever it is that we're learning about. And I'm the horse, and Danielle here is the person with her sword. And again, it's going to liken it to what's going on there, but wait, a sword? What is like a sword? The word of God. Yay, that's right. It's like a sword, right? It can be our defense. And so we need to make sure that we, as we learned from the Bible, that we remember that it's also a sword. And so we liken everything that we're doing to our lesson without bombarding the child, just bringing it to their level, whatever level that is. Now, it was mainly me doing the homeschooling, but sometimes Winston would join in. And when we started the school lessons, actually, he started to take some of those lessons, which was a huge weight off me. He would just teach when he could. So it wasn't set in stone when he was going to teach, but when he was able, there was a consistency there. He also taught them how to play the piano. He taught himself, first of all, how to play the piano and how to play the guitar so that he could teach them. and I would teach them the principles of music. And, I would also share a lot about what I knew, where I was coming from, the type of music I used to listen to. Obviously it was according to age. As they grew, I shared more and more and more. And why I listened to that type of music, and why now I'm learning that God wants this type of music, and why God wants that type of music. So I was learning with them. I think they find great comfort in this. But that was just my situation. I really was learning. I learned about the Sabbath, the true essence of Sabbath, from teaching them about the Sabbath, from the very first book. When we're doing creation, we came to the Sabbath. And that helped me approach Sabbath from a totally different angle. And I started to get a desire to want to make Sabbath a delight for them. So we made it really special, made special things for the Sabbath. And you see what I mean? So I was really learning alongside them. Again, being in the country gives you other opportunities to really get, hands-on experience with the things around you, living things around you. So whenever possible, we would go to the neighbor's farm and, feed the lambs. Again, always linking it to the Lamb of God that came to take away the sins of the world, linking it to, how gentle and how innocent the lamb was, and just drawing lessons from there. So school now is all around. There isn't anywhere that we cannot go where we cannot learn. Even in the car, we're learning. Sometimes I put, I like to have them look around them and observe things and draw lessons from our lesson, So the lesson kind of stays with us. So the first, and so that's the memory, the memory verse. We used to make tunes to each memory verse. We still do. So we will be memorizing the tunes while we were in the car driving somewhere. For example, the first lesson in the trees, I think, is order. Let all things be done decently and in order. So now that is like a motto for the whole week. If you throw your shoes, aside when you walk in, I'll be like, wait, let all things be done. And I'll sing the song, decently, decently, and in order. And then they'll be like, oh, then they'll come and pick up their shoes and put it in order. And so you find different ways to show order. When it's time to do the clothes washing, okay, get all the socks together, Levi. So Levi would identify all the socks, and someone else will identify all the tops. Sometimes it's according to color. Again, they're learning math, they're learning, sorting, they're learning color coordination. We would make things as well. If we come across something in the lesson, like this is a lyre, L-Y-R-E, and we made one. And Levi had great joy. Instead of playing with his blue ukulele, he simply used that for half of the afternoon, which kept him busy. Another thing is that there were 2 years between each child. And you have to kind of multitask. But I would set Levi, I would have 3 things in the afternoon that I knew he would be quite taken with. So music would be one. So while we're here doing something, he will be there doing his music. I'll different instruments, like, what did we have? We used to have a tambourine. We used to have the ukulele. We wouldn't give him the guitar at that time because he would just break the string. He'll have a tinkle on the piano. And so he was just experimenting. Meanwhile, maybe Danielle is making a tower. So I would say something like, okay, I want a tower from all of your yellow blocks, please. And then I'll be there with Tia Michaela doing something else, maybe from the family Bible lessons. Here, sometimes when they had time, even be, pretending to be me doing the family Bible lessons. Here we've gone to visit, and they are sharing with their children some aspects of the family Bible lesson. She was just sharing with them what she could remember, because at this stage she couldn't yet read. Okay, I'm gonna skip through. So again, visiting a museum and, spotting those things that we are learning about, in the museum. And, I'll print out little worksheets and they would tick, So Tia and Michaela at this time have started reading and writing. Danielle hasn't yet. So they would work alongside her. If she noticed something, she would tell one of them, and then they will write it for her.
Yeah, well, the baby. But she's not my teacher.
So again, getting the opportunity to take care of animals. They didn't belong to us, but, just learning how to groom a horse. My children love horses. We couldn't afford a horse, but let's go and see what it takes to look after a horse. It's not just about riding it across the fields. You have to do some work. Again, we would reenact our lessons sometimes, like put on the whole armor of God. Okay, guys, find ways to put on the whole armor. And this is one of their renditions of the whole armor. We did a lot of reading. Here it says, take time to read to your children from the health books, as well as from the books treating more particularly on religious subjects. Teach them the importance of caring for the body, the house they live in. And this, again, in 2010 is when our journey with health, it began way before that, but seriously, taking it very seriously in terms of maybe this is what God wants us to do, because we discovered the medical missionary work and how it's supposed to be incorporated with the evangelism, with the Bible in reaching people. So we were part of the same journey. And so as we learned, we taught them. And so using for some guests that we had at the time, and learning why you're juicing what you're juicing, what are the benefits of carrots, etc. Our journey with health began years before then. In fact, when we were in Manchester, when one of the children would constantly be sick and we would be taking them to and from the hospital. And after a while of recognizing that this was not working, the medications were not working, we started to look for the cause. And this is when it began. But God took it to the next level in 2010 as we continued to learn more and more about health and live it. Again, our diet started changing. They were also part of this transition. So we would explain why we're eating this and not that. And so they were, learning alongside with us. Again, learning about their bodies. We came across a quote that says one of the first lessons should be physiology and anatomy. So we had to go back and learn simple physiology and anatomy with them, so that they wouldn't shun the broccoli and shun the carrots, but actually they would start to embrace it because they recognized what their bodies needed. You could spend a very long time on that topic alone, and find math and science and every subject, looking at physiology and anatomy. So remember when I said that sometimes if I'm teaching the older girl something and I want to keep Levi occupied, I would set him tasks. So here I said, Levi, make a very, very, he's always liked cars, make a very, very intricate roadworks. Yeah. And it has to be able to carry your cars. So here he's very proudly standing or sitting next to one of his constructions. And it will take him, you know, not all children, I understand, will gladly sit and do that. But it can be taught. It can be taught. Here, as we're learning about hydrotherapy, Grandma came to visit, and here they are. They insisted on doing Grandma's hot foot bath as well. So you see, as they start to learn, and because it's not just sitting in the classroom learning about theory, they always want to put it into practice. And that is such a blessing, because you don't just learn what you learn, you live what you learn. And this is true education. So I came to understand.
Okay, sister, can I just, we had a hand up.
Yes.
Sister Zoe, I think she had an observation. Sister Zoe.
Yes. Yes, Sister Zoe.
Hey, good evening, Sister Jackie and everybody. We meet again. Thank you so much so far. It's just, something just dawned on me, and I just really wanted to share it. You were talking about the struggles that you experience with doing the traditional route of traditional homeschooling versus true education. You know, the light bulb just went on. I was sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, I have been a homeschooling parent for just over a year. So this will be my second year with my two children. And when I think about it, unbeknown to myself, I have been training my children the true education way from day one.
Yeah.
And I'll explain what I mean when I say that is, I have, with God's help, raised my children myself along my whole parenting journey for the past 24 years, and always done practical life skills, always done parts, museums, planting, going to church, getting involved in the community. The difference I realized is that because I was led to believe that when my children get to a certain age, you know, hand them over to the state and put them in mainstream school. And of course, when you do that, all that you've learned slowly becomes unraveled in your child's mind, as they're now indoctrinated into the secular world's or mainstream society's way of educating the children. And I find that when you start the true education, homeschooling from an earlier age, it's what you're doing naturally as parents of the things that you teach to your children anyway. The longer you leave it to start them off, or if you take them out of the homeschooling environment and place them in mainstream, little by little, they become less dependent on the practical life skills and more dependent on devices, upon the curriculum that the government or your local authority has implemented in the school, because that's what is preparing your child for life in standard earthly surroundings.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it became more of a challenge with homeschooling because my children had already had the taste of the other side.
Yes. So
they're
you're
now
fighting another, it's a different kind of.
Yes. Yes. So I just wanted to share that. So it's now getting the balance right.
Yes.
It's now getting the balance, because the older they are, the less now you can involve them in those little things. You listen, when you've got a little child, you can sit there and talk about butterflies all day, but when you've got a teenager, just come out the door. They want, it's not exciting anymore. You know, do you see what I mean? So there's different challenges at different ages, but we have been doing homeschooling from a godly and from a natural point of view from the moment we knew it. I just wanted to add that. It just dawned on me, really. The light bulb just kind of went on. Thank you.
Amen.
And
Praise God.
were there any other questions, sis?
No, I think you're fine. You can carry on. There's no more questions for the moment.
Okay. So yes, sister, it is easier when you start earlier, but it's never too late. You just have to make it relatable wherever they are. So you're right. We're not going to be able to talk about butterflies all day long. However, I can find a next level about butterflies that we can look at. We can look at the various, if your child is good with art, they can sketch a butterfly, to perfection. And again, you're looking at their strengths, strengthening their strengths and strengthening their weaknesses as well. So we're not going to get the same approach with butterflies as we would have done if they were 3 or 5. So we're going to have to look at the next level of learning about butterflies and moths. Okay, can you write me a paragraph on the differences between butterflies and moths? Don't forget your punctuation. Don't forget your all the things that we're learning in our English class. So now you're learning about butterflies and moths, but not as a child, now as a teenager, because you've passed that stage. But you can regain that stage, but at your level. So now you're not going to say, oh, look at that, look at their wings, look at the scales. Now I want you to read about it, and I want to compare and see the likeness and the differences between butterflies and moths. I want a 250 word, paragraph. Off you go. Give them the resources necessary to do that. And again, you still got butterflies and moths. Okay, but thank you for sharing that. Again, using the Bible to do maths. I mean, that's something that I was like, oh, how's that going to work? It's so complex, but actually it isn't. Even if you go back to nature, go back to creation, what day did God make this? And again, that's maths as a child. But then if you look at here, the genealogy of Adam, from Adam to Noah, you have numbers galore. You can play with those numbers, and etc. So it's just some ideas. Again, encouraging them to draw what they saw around them. So this would be out all the time, so that they are free to pick up a pen and draw on the board. This is a really good resource. I had one that still have it actually. That one's in Levi's room now, that uses chalk. And then this one was so you can have both. You have the whiteboard and you have the blackboard as well. We've had it since we started ages ago now. And they're still very much used. Again, looking outside of, teaching outside of the box, find different implements to create different scenes. So these were building blocks, but again, use it to make a scene, Shopping, you have maths, you have home management, you have health, you have so much. So every aspect of life becomes a teaching, a school. The whole thing about country living or living outside of the cities, I think is more challenging if we didn't live where we have to be honest with that. Not to say you cannot do it wherever you are. Do it wherever you are, and it can be done wherever you are, but you have to bring a lot of the outside things in your home. And that is a challenge in itself, but it is doable. Or find images or programs that re-emphasize what you're learning. Okay, so making bread, everybody's making bread or scones or whatever it is that are made. Yes, a big mess would be made. Yes, it's going to take longer to tidy up, but guess what? They're learning. And later on, you'll see that it actually inspired one of my children to take that to the next level and to the next level. And now she's very much drawn into the area of health in terms of nutrition, in terms of cooking. And here, you know, she's lots of different things. And initially it's like, oh, Kayla, you're making so much mess. You're wasting so many ingredients. And she'll be like, yeah, but mommy, it's because, you know, or she'll turn up with a flat cake and again, I started to realize that, okay, there's science right there. She's learning science in the kitchen. Use it to teach her that she needs a raising agent to get this cake to rise, that this cake is not behaving as it should because she's whisked all the air out of it, or maybe there's not enough in there. So then there was physics and chemistry and math in the kitchen. They lacked nothing, but to many people, they were they didn't have much. So they didn't have swings and slides. And when they would complain, we would say, make one. So they would. And they would just find ways and means to make these things. And, you know, some people would come and say, oh, no, they're so deprived. Well, they're not really. But they started to become very resourceful. There were times when we would sit there. There's always, especially as they grow. Here you see, with the age, more responsibilities. Now we're sitting down, doing the rigs, and they're all doing it according to their abilities, according to their age. Levi's painting alongside them. Danielle's probably writing her name and making sure each time that is neat and tidy and that the letters are formed according as she's been taught. And then, you know, they would read together, surround them with books so that there's never a moment where they're bored unless you specify a quiet time. Yeah, so there's, you know, music to play, there are books to read, there are blocks to build, there, you know, washing to sort. And I used to run Tia out of the kitchen and I realized I was really doing her harm. And when I came to the understanding that this was part of her schooling, I started to call her, but you know what? She got discouraged. To this day, though she does come into the kitchen and she does many wonderful things in the kitchen, it's not her favorite place. And I think that that was partly because of me. So whoever came to our home, they would be incorporated into the home. So we started opening our home as a sanitarium in 2014. The children were still quite young. But we incorporated them into the schedule. So they would still maintain what they usually do. And if a child came with the guest, they also would be incorporated into the homeschool. Okay, again, mommy, we need a swing, make one. So they did. It wasn't always the safest thing in the whole wide world, but you know, it's just part of learning, and it's putting these things into action rather than expecting things to come out of thin air and be supplied. After a while, they did get a proper slide at some point. Music, yeah. So another thing they did was they were interested in lots of different instruments. I got this from eBay. Years later, it fell apart, but they were able just to be able to know how to hold a bow and hold the violin. So, you know, it was just all part of learning. I'm not going to read through everything. It was just to say that because with Sonlight, you're supposed to live what you're learning. When emergencies come along, you just live what you're learning. And those emergencies aren't always pleasant, but yeah, you just kind of roll with it. And so when we found ourselves without any electricity for a week last year, we just had to be resourceful and do what we could. Yeah, I guess I'm a bit stuck in terms of how to carry on from here. As you've seen, we just grew with the curriculum, and we have gone through the family Bible lessons, I think possibly 4 times. So every time we get to the end, we start again, and we learn more and more and more each time. And here you have Michaela with her plant bakes, a project she started because of as part of her education, that became something that became an actual realization. She had a book in her hand. This is this afternoon. They had some time out. The guests were resting. They decided they wanted to paint. It's a rainy day, so they got out their stuff and they started to paint. So this wasn't me leading out. This was them. So you want to create a situation where at every juncture they have something to do, something useful to do, something that is edifying, whether it's reading, music, painting, assisting you in the kitchen. And the promise, Proverbs 22:6, is that if we train up a child in the way that he or she should go when they are old, by the grace of God, they will not depart from it. They're starting to make choices and decisions all by themselves. And with each choice and decision, you pray that they'll be governed by God and his Holy Spirit, because the Bible says that all thy children shall be taught of the Lord, and great shall be the peace of thy children. And so this is just a very quick outline. I'm wondering now if there are any more tangible questions that you might have that pertain specifically to you about Sonlight.
Let me put it on the gallery. I can't see any, but let's put it on gallery view. Anybody? That's been a wonderful presentation, Sister Jacqueline, very thorough. And I feel like we've literally grown up. We've gone through the journey with you. It's lovely seeing, before you had Levi and when the girls were younger and moving up to them getting older, up to even today. That's just wonderful. Okay, we have a question in the chat. Oh, sorry, no, it's just somebody. That's okay. She's saying how old her child was. That's okay. Anybody? Any points, questions? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Anyone?
I think you've covered so much. I think we're just like, you've done it all.
Really has.
Amen. Yeah, we've had some sisters saying amen. Okay, Sister Julie. Yep, you can speak. Let's get you on spotlight as well. Oh, okay. There's no camera. Sister Julie, you've got your hand up. Did you want to say something?
Yes, Sister Angela, thank you. Thank you, Sister Jacqueline. Has been blessing hearing you. Everything that you have said, I'm so blessed. I really, really needed to hear everything that you say, because I feel like giving up. Like I said to Sister Angela, I feel like, oh no, this is too much for me. So I just want to thank you. I want to thank you because I've been praying a lot, asking God to help me to do the homeschooling again. I was doing it for 2 years and my life has been like upside down and I give up. But I really needed to listen to what you said, and it really has been giving me the courage that I needed to have. So I really want to thank you because it has been a blessing for me. And I wanted to ask you, if apart from Sonlight, do you use any other regular books? Let's say, you mentioned something at the beginning, Road and Stuff, and I was using those ones for my son in grade 6 and 7. So I wanted to ask you, do you use those ones for a long time, or you just gave up, or do you use any other type of books with your kids?
Okay, thank you for asking. It's a blessing to share, Sister Julie. There's so much to share. I didn't know how to curtail everything, but I am available if anyone wants to know more. In terms of other curriculums, no, we didn't. Once we found Sonlight, there is so much in Sonlight, Sister Julie, that we didn't really have time to look at any other curriculum. We did have other books. We have supplementary books. But also we take ideas from Sonlight, and then a child might ask, well, how does this work? And how does that work? And then we'll follow those questionings. And then what we may do is do a whole research project on, what the child may have asked about. And then we'll come back. So to be honest, the first book of Sonlight, the first family Bible lesson, took us a very long time. We were supposed to do it for a quarter. We did not do it according as the book suggested. It takes this long length of time. We just went at our own pace. So while everybody else was on butterflies, we were still on trees. But we were getting so much from trees that we didn't need to move on, because I remember the theory, teach whatever you teach it well, and don't rush. So we try not to do that. In terms of other curriculums, no, once we found Sonlight, we really didn't look left or right. We just got books, lots of different reference books and supplementary books to help them in their learning. We also bought some DVDs from oh my goodness, some nature DVDs that we invested in. Nothing too expensive, but it also helped them when they did want to watch something on the screen. It was something that was vetted. It had a time period. We could watch it together, but I can also put them in front of it and not worry about anything else coming up halfway through while I'm doing something here, and they were like 30 minutes at a time. And I'm trying to remember what it was. I'll remember very soon and I'll be able to share. So whatever resources had to be in line with what we were learning. It has to be in line with with the Bible and the spirit of prophecy. So it helped us to sift. Now you can use other curriculums sometimes to supplement Sonlight, but to be honest, I don't know if I would feel comfortable mixing it, because it is a different way of teaching. It's a very different way of learning as well. Yeah, I hope that helped.
Okay. Yes, we've got some hands. Is that helpful, Sister Julie? Lovely to see you. Okay, you're very welcome. We've got 2 more questions. The first one is, how do you incorporate the family Bible lessons and the grade 2 to 8 together? I know you started telling us how you did the family Bible lessons. So how were you able to incorporate them? And I'm assuming that's because obviously you have children of different ages.
Okay, so how did I incorporate the family Bible lesson and
the Sonlight and the school lessons, the grade 2 to 8, the school lessons?
Yes, okay. So the family Bible lessons were just standard. It was our tool for worship. So it's our worship tool, morning and evening. And then once they started the grade 2 lessons, the 2 older children would do the lessons. The younger children maybe will color from a printout of our lesson, our family Bible lesson from the morning, or some other aspect. So maybe I'll say, Daniel, draw what we learned this morning, or I'll print out the activity book according to that day's lesson, and she can color it in, or she can do the dot to dot, or I can give her Play-Doh, and I will get her to maybe do it in action, no, I give her Play-Doh to replicate what she learned from the morning. Or I'll say, draw what you learned on the board. So she'd be like, oh yeah, I went like this. And you know, she's taken with that. Maybe Levi is doing his blocks or strumming on his guitar, and the two girls are doing their school lessons. Now it takes a lot, because you got Danielle saying, look, mommy, look, this is this. I'm like, oh, that's great, wonderful. And Levi is strumming in the background, and then they are learning. They learned, I suppose, to deal with that, whether it was quiet or whether their younger siblings were doing different things. They learned to still. So sometimes, like, girls, one moment. Okay, Danielle, that's lovely, lovely drawing. Levi, oh, wonderful. I like your tower. Okay, now, girls, I'm talking to you. I, A, O. And then, you know, and then they have to write it. And so it was really multitasking and juggling. And it might be in a space of 1 hour. For that reason as well, our sessions were not long, drawn out sessions, because there were lots going on. It may be that after 30 minutes, I'll get Danielle and Levi to go outside where I could see them, then they can play. And then continue girls for at least an hour and get out for some fresh air. I hope that helped.
Okay, I can see Sister Michelle and Brother Robert, you got your hand up?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So when you're using the levels, say I have in front of me here level 1,
Yeah.
at the front of the book, did you do the, you know, where it has study the Bible lesson and begin to memorize the memory verses? So did you do like the memory verses? Did you do like, where is it? How to mark the Bible and the spelling cards? Did you do those sort of? You didn't.
When we started the family Bible lessons, we didn't do how to mark the Bible and the.
No, sorry, not the family Bible lessons, when you were doing the levels.
The school lessons.
Sorry, like level 1, level 2, grade. Yeah, sorry, grades 2 to 8. The
Yes.
lessons, yeah, sorry.
Mark the Bible, we didn't do the spelling cards. We started, but it became very cumbersome. So I said, okay, let go of the spelling cards. Let's focus on marking the Bible. So we did do the activities. There are certain activities that we left off. I left we started with the spelling cards, but we stopped. But we continued with marking the Bibles. Yes, we did that.
And did you do it for each, what's it called?
Subject like health, music.
Class you have, you know, health, music. Yeah, yeah, the subjects.
Yes, we did. We did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you did the memory. So you did the memory verses, and you did the how to mark the Bible,
Yes.
but you didn't do the spelling cards very much.
No.
And what about the evaluate your student's character? Did you do those for each of your because like did you do those for each of your children? Like
I did them, but I didn't like talk to them about it. So for example, when I looked at the character qualities, I would be like, yeah, she needs more help here. He needs to learn to do that. So I would write it down for myself as a note to help them in their development. So it wouldn't be something that I would necessarily discuss with them personally. Maybe Winston and I would discuss it, and together we will help them. So there was a situation with sharing. So we devised a game. So we had lots of fruits and vegetables, and then we would give everybody a certain amount, and we would put the bulk of it in the middle of the floor. And the idea is you need to give. So if you see anyone without, you have to make sure so that the focus of the game is not who can gather the most, but who can give the most. So when you see that somebody's is about to finish, so you're all running around giving. And then if you see that someone's about to finish, you have to remember to give that person, you know, another fruit. So we combated sharing, you know, that it was actually a blessing to give. So we'll find different ways, or we devise games that will facilitate that lack if we found that our children or one child is struggling with sharing, etc. Or sometimes a child is struggling with being told off, you know, and it becomes a thing, you know, and getting around that. Yeah.
Amen.
Okay.
That's wonderful. I will say, just, you know, just to link to show there are different ways we can do things as well. We did do the spelling words, but we didn't do them as the cards, because as you said, the cards can be quite cumbersome, because they were like, you know, get a box, put them all in. But we did them. We actually had an exercise book for each of the children, and we had the Mark Your Bible scriptures and topics at the back, one part of the book, and on the front of the book we had the spelling word for each of the lessons. So we didn't do it, you don't have to do it exactly the way they've said, you can definitely do it in a way that suits your family, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we did.
I was thinking that. I was thinking all about, you know, the cards. I was thinking, oh, maybe I just get.
Oh, you just muted.
Yeah, I think she was echoing what you said, sis.
Oh, okay, wonderful.
Yeah,
Great.
I was just, I was thinking of getting a book as opposed to cards. Yeah.
Yeah. The good thing with the Sonlight, it's so flexible, isn't it? You can do it in so many ways. I mean, on each book that you have, it literally says at the bottom, don't forget, it says at the top, sorry, designing your own homeschool. So it's really flexible, that you can use it according to your home situation, where your children are, how many you've got. So right, any more questions? I've seen a few people want to be added to the Sonlight group, and that's great. I think you might have joined us from different places, so I've got your numbers and we'll get you added so that you can be on the Sonlight group.
Julie asked me, sorry, sis. Julie asked me about any other curriculums. I think I was a bit confused. I guess RIGS is a curriculum, isn't it? But it's a
Absolutely.
Sonlight suggests.
Recommend.
You know,
Absolutely.
That's it. So along with the RIGS, you've got McCall and Crab's standard test lessons in reading, you know, reading and thinking. So all of you know, were part of the lesson as well. And as we went along, we'll pick up different books that may, you know, reflect that, or be as simple and as edifying as these, and then we'll just pick them up. Sometimes I've got really good books from the Works, you know, the Works bookshop, and find some great activities there as well. So everything that you pick up, basically, you're seeing how it relates, and is it true? Are you going to find millions and millions and millions of years ago halfway through the book? If you do, okay, I need to put it back. We also use libraries a lot. And again, that was part of their training in picking good books, and books that were, is it true? You know, so Levi will bring me some book, some random book about, let's say, dogs that talk. I'm like, is that true? Is that honest? Is that just? Is that, you know, so it's like, no. It's like, all right, then we better pick another one. And then, you know, so we learned together, and they would select books, but it needs to be true, honest, just, pure, lovely, and something that is of good virtue and praiseworthy. So again, you're incorporating the word of God, and you're helping them to make good choices without saying, no, put that back. I don't want you to have that. You know, they now know to choose for themselves why you're saying that may not be a wise choice, because it's not, you know, true. You know.
Absolutely. And sis, on that point, you just mentioned that, and we are going to be, oh, let's put you back on. Yeah, we are going to be covering the RIGS, but as it pertains to the sunlight, I think I put it in the chat, as it links with the sunlight spelling from the scriptures. So the RIGS is a language program, as you've shown, in and of itself. However, it is complementary with the sunlight because it follows all the scripture, the principles of true education. And literally the program is you see it, hear it, say it, write it. So it's using all of the senses, which is true education. You're not just doing one aspect. So we will be covering that. One whole section will be dedicated to the RIGS and spelling from the scriptures and how to use the RIGS program. And so, yeah, it's usually around what they would call grade 1 in America. Somebody's asking the question, when would you use the spelling spelling from the scripture? Did you use that, Sister Jackie, as well? Did you use the spelling from the scripture?
Yes. We started using it when we started the grade 1 lesson. So
Absolutely.
yes, when Tia was about, if Tia was 7 going on 8, I think she was 7, and Michaela would have been 5. Really by 1. So yeah, we started then with Tia. Then as each one moved up, we would, to be honest, Danielle didn't start at 7 or 8. Danielle started at 5 and 6 because they are in the same room. When I say things to the older children, she hears it. So she's learned a lot quicker. I don't, there was a time she used to say the phonograms, A, A, O, B. When my mom used to come, and my mom would be like, oh my goodness. She is 4. At 4, the children are learning and they're reading in school. She's going, what is that? And that's another thing I wanted to really point out. Please be assured in God's word. Because if you look around you and if you listen to the comments of others, you're going to be discouraged. I remember thinking that, oh my goodness, she's right. Maybe, this isn't right. Maybe this is all wrong. But then God had to bring me back and said, remember, my ways are not your ways, and it won't be your mother's ways. When she came back the following year, Danielle was reading fluently, and she couldn't believe it. Again, Levi used to ride his bike. He was 3 when he got his first bike, a gift from a friend. He would lie on his side and he'll just move the wheels. My mother would watch and say, oh my goodness, look at your backward children. He's not even riding the bike. He is moving the wheels. What is wrong with you people? And when she came back the following year, Levi was riding the bike up and down hills. And she was the one with her heart in her mouth trying to get me to stop him from riding. So it means that your children may learn differently. They will not know a lot of the things that people around them are talking about. Like my mother used to say, oh, they don't even know about Beyonce. I said, why would I want them to know about Beyonce? What would Beyonce be teaching my children? So again, you have to, with everything, to the law and to the testimony. She had to concede that actually, there's something right about this. And I have to, again, give the glory to God, because if it was for me, I would have given up a long time ago. So I understand parents who are saying, I'm so frustrated, but remember to keep up. You're not alone. God is with you, and he will bless your efforts.
Amen, sister. Wonderful. I think we saw another hand. Sister Michelle, did you have your hand up? I know you're waiting a little while. Yes.
It was just a quick one about the RIGS. How well does it work with the British language over the years? These jolly phonics.
Yeah. Do you want to answer, sister, or shall I?
Whoever.
It helped me to understand that the so-called British language isn't so British. It has Latin, it has German, it has French. When you learn the English words do not end with you, and you're like, but what about menu? That's because it's not an English word, and it's so wonderful. It taught me a great deal. It taught me reasons why I used words and I didn't, or used certain sentences that I don't remember learning at school. So in the sense of, you say a, o, right? In school, you just say that this is ah. But you have apple, you have airplane, you have apron, you have all of these things that words that begin with A, but they don't sound like A. So I find that is excellent. Now, in certain situations where it says, oh, put a carrot here, and you just have to explain to your child, well, no, we don't put a carrot there because we don't say it like that. This is how we say it. And then you will say it how we do say it, as opposed to in the American form. But overall, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. So you won't have problems in terms of, converting the American to the English.
Yeah, absolutely. I will add to that. I absolutely love the RIGS program, and it's so helpful with correcting if there are issues with a child with dyslexia, dyspraxia, dyscalculia, all these other things. Because you're using all the avenues of learning, you're not just saying A is for apple, because as Sister said, A is not for apple. There's 4 different sounds there, and not all phonics or phonograms teach all of those sounds. They tend to just have the one sound and the name. So it's so thorough. I absolutely love it. I use it with my children, and we use it with teaching on one-to-one in group settings. It's so good. It's amazing. It's one of those programs that it does complement and work with very well the Sonlight curriculum, because it follows the principles of true education, so it's just like Jesus taught through all the senses, didn't he? He was on the mountainside, he would look and he'd say, consider the lilies of the valleys, they don't sow or they don't reap, but yet Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. So it was using the visual and the hearing, every sense in that learning experience. And so they do start it sometimes with children as young as 4, but we're encouraged with the academics, better late than early. And so usually the RIGS does fall along with the spelling from the scriptures. They have the casket, the first grade reader. All of these are from Sonlight, and it's that transition, isn't it, Sister Jackie, between the family Bible lessons and as you go on to the school lessons. So as your child grows, you'll know when they're ready, but you just don't want to be pounding those academics too early. Definitely going up when they're ready. As you said, same situation with us. We had 3 children, so they were learning together, and the younger one always wants to learn what the older ones are doing. But if you work with the older one, and the others will pick it up as well. So okay.
Before you ask the questions, there's another thing I remember is that sometimes using the family Bible lessons, besides speaking it, I also have visuals. There's some children that are very visual. So I would have visuals of what I'm saying, but also I would ask Tia, she liked to draw it out. So as I'm speaking, she's going like this. So I'm like, okay, Tia, why don't you just draw it on the board? So as I'm speaking, Michaela really is like a sponge with words. So she was like drawing it in, really, Mommy, then what happened? Then what happened? Tia's like, But if she draws it, at the end of the session, I'll be like, so Tia, according to your drawing, what happened in this story? And she'll be able to tell you according as she has drawn it, so that everybody's catered for. So if her strength, she's not disadvantaged because it's a mostly, spoken word. Another wonderful way to incorporate all skills of the child.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's there for all types of learners, isn't it? That's wonderful. Sister Adelaide has got her hand up. We are winding down. We didn't want to keep you too long. We've had a wonderful time together, but let's just have another question or a point from Sister Adelaide.
I think we're going to need part 2.
Yeah, we may have to. But the good thing is, as we're going on, we will be we're going to adjust it and adapt it as according. I mean, if we've got loads more questions, did you have more to present on this?
There's so much, but we will discuss that another time. Sister
We'll
Adelaide.
discuss it. That's fine. I just want to know, just in terms of while we're all here, so that if the families have got questions, or they have got more questions on this before we move on, that we want to go from there. Yeah. So just before Sister Adelaide, you asked your question, I just wanted to mention that Sister Julie said, in terms of what you said, that's exactly what happened to her. Many people criticized her for homeschooling her son. So she just wants to thank you for mentioning all those points. Yeah. Okay, and Sister Adelaide, let's see if we can see you.
My question is with regards to, I already do the Bible study, but for those that they just learn about homeschooling and they have like a 3 years old or 4 years old and they anxious about the starting of the official curriculum, what's your advice? Because sometimes we choose to do homeschooling, but we are just so stuck with the traditional idea that we want to start them as soon as possible. And so what is the advice for 3-year-old or even 5-year-old for a boy, for example?
Okay, so doing the family Bible lessons for a 5-year-old boy?
No, the family Bible lessons can be introduced at any time, but really starting the academic learning, yes, even if it's using the Sonlight curriculum.
Yeah. Well, the academics, we don't really start that early, not as early as 5 or 4 or 5. If we're going to start academics at that age, it won't be sit down, here's your paper, let's do math. It will be done outside. If it's not conducive to outside, then we'll find ways inside to do it. So you walk around the house or we'll do the laundry and do maths with laundry. We'll do maths in the kitchen with, measuring. We'll do maths in the bathtub. Do you know what I mean? But we'll do math. A lot of boys like cars. Let's look at the wheels. Let's look at different aspects of a car. Just as you would do anatomy and physiology, do the anatomy and physiology of a car, especially if they're interested in it. So, it's looking at whatever interests your child, but also whatever is conducive to truth and what will also reflect what they're learning in their family Bible lessons. So you can teach academics in terms of 1, 2, 3, ABC by the things around you rather than sitting and doing it. Now, if the child, some people say, my child, it really wants to do it. They're forming, letters and so on. And they're okay. So encourage them. And if necessary, begin the school lessons. But where possible, try and use everyday life to be the school. And encourage experience more so than theory. But alongside theory, now we need to put it into action. So you can, for example, let's say water. Water, is water, whether it's solid, whether it's liquid or gas. Yeah. So now let's go and see this in action. So we've got water. Let's freeze. It becomes a solid. How does it become a gas? You're doing science, you don't know it. Okay, let mommy get a pot. You stand here and watch what happens when that water gets to 100 degrees plus. It starts to boil. And what does it create? It creates steam. That's gas. Now, when that steam condenses, it falls down as droplets. And then you can link it now to the water cycle. So now they won't see rain the same way again, or they won't see clouds the same way again, because when they see clouds, they're like, oh, wow, soon that cloud's going to get full, then it's going to open, and we're going to get rain. And so you have the water cycle. And so you're linking everything to God's amazing wisdom and creative power. I hope that helped.
Amen. Praise God. Okay. So I think we have spent a good time together. Thank you all for your questions. Thanks for your patience. And thank you particularly, Sister Jackie and the family, because I know you couldn't have done this without sharing with your family, for just sharing your journey with us. That's been really such a blessing. We are going to be meeting again next month, and we're going to have this series is going to be for the next 4 months. So we'll let you know what we'll be sharing next. I think it's really dependent on how we go, but today was really just giving a big overview, and I know some of you wanted to get into the specifics of Sonlight more with the family Bible lesson. Some of you it's the first time you're hearing it, and others it's the first time that you're hearing this, and then for others it's something that you're using already. So we definitely will try and just get to the point where we're working together to help you all. So, Sister Jackie, any final thoughts before we close up this evening?
Oh, wow, there's so much. Sonlight really has been for me a lifesaver, just helping me to understand God. From Genesis to Revelation, oftentimes when we're learning about the Bible, we're all over the place. Even our Sabbath school lessons for children are all over the place. But it's so wonderful to go in order and recognize what the relationships are from one to the other. But more than that, I think Sonlight teaches your child to have a true knowledge of who, not this arbitrary person, who's sat above, ready to zap them, but they come to know God as their friend, their savior, and the one who's altogether lovely. And what that does also, that as we become to know God, we start to desire to reflect him. And so there's less fighting in your home, if any at all. If there are disputes, they're ironed out quickly. You find that the children work together more. So there's so many benefits. It's not just academics. And it opens a whole world to your children, not just for the acquisition of money, but also for the blessing of others. And this is our desire, that our children be raised for heaven, but in the meantime, be raised also for usefulness and help to those around them. And I truly believe Sonlight has been God-given. And because I can see the blessings in my own personal life, but also in the lives of my children. So I give God thanks, and I praise God for the privilege to share. And if anyone wants any more questions, please, I don't mind. If we have to put on another program after the other 3 have been done, I'm more than happy to share more. So yeah, so much more, but don't give up. Don't give up.
Absolutely. Definitely.
I know that your co-work is with God, and he will bless your efforts. Praise God.
Sister Jackie, somebody had put in the chat, could you share some of the resources along with the rigs that you share? Let's just get the question earlier. Are you able to maybe put that on the group? Because I think by this evening, everyone should be on the group.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll take pictures of the various books that I can get my hands on, and that's fine. Another thing is, some people might actually appreciate, when Sister Julie asked about other curriculums or other things that you could use, My Bible First, especially this is
the new stuff. Yeah.
I have a dear sister who's like, I really struggle with just grabbing object lessons from life. And it's like, okay, well, this would be good for just to help to get your mind around that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as well, I can put this in the chat. It's actually My Bible First UK. So we have a UK branch now. They were in America before, but the Rain family are leading that. So I'll put that in the chat so that we can see the the website for them, not the email. So you can go on there, and I believe that orders over a certain amount are free in the UK. And somebody's asking the question, where are you based, Sister Jackie?
We are
And Where in Scotland? Because he knows you're in Scotland.
We are in Dumfries and Galloway, which is southwest Scotland. So that's where we live and work. And as I mentioned, we have a home sanitarium. We do training. We do lots of different things. So yeah. That's where we are.
I don't think I can see any more questions. Any more? Okay, I don't think that's any more for now. You have been such a blessing to us. We've just he said, Brother King has said, thank you so much for that. Yeah, I think that's everything. So thank you all for spending this time. We're a family, we're the Sonlight family together, made up of many families. So please do come again next month, this time next month. It will always be the second Sunday in each month for the next 3 months. And God willing, we just look forward to seeing all of you here. And many are just saying in the chat, thank you so much, Sister Jackie and family.
The children want to hear a song, but I think it's a bit late.
No, it's not too late. It's never too late for music. That would be lovely to have a song. Let me take myself off here. We don't need to see myself. And yeah, we look forward to that song. And if you'll pray at the end, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay,
we'll be blessed with music.
I'll just be here like a plum.
Always a pleasure to hear you all sing. Absolutely.
Are you coming, Levi? Come on, quickly. We're out of time.
We're going to sing a scripture song found in Matthew 4 verse 4 and Exodus 15 verse 11. It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Matthew 4 verse 4. Like unto thee, who is like unto thee, O Lord among the gods, O Lord among the gods, who is like thee, who is like thee, glorious and holiness, glorious and holiness, fearful in praises, doing wonder, doing wonder, who is like unto thee, O Lord, fearful in praises, doing wonders, who is like unto thee, O Lord.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I think we have.
I don't know.
Praise the Lord. That was beautiful.
Amen. Amen. Praise God. Thank you, everyone. I'm not sure what's happened to Sister Angela, but I'm sure she'll be back shortly. But I guess we're done now. So God bless. I think we were going to pray. So perhaps I'll say the final prayer. Our kind and loving God, we just thank you so much for giving us these resources. Thank you for the opportunity to meet together, just to encourage each other, to know that there's nothing impossible with you, Lord, and that you have promised to help us. You will never leave us nor forsake us. Please help us. And as we teach our children, teach us that we may be we may know how best to teach them, and that you will be the one to take our hand day by day as we bring them to you. So be with everybody on this platform and be with in our homes, Lord. Please help us. Whatever we're struggling with, help us to know that you will find a solution, and help us to be a help to one another, encouraging each other along the way. We thank you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Amen. Praise God. Thank you all once again. I'm sorry, I think I got logged out. I thought it was you, but it was ourselves. A beautiful singing. Praise God. And we just look forward to seeing you all again soon. So good night, everyone. God bless. And thank you once again, the Brown family. That was beautiful. Amen.
Take care, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, family.
Bye.
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 Bye. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye. It was so nice to see so many new faces as well. There were so many people.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
I just invited everyone on the link.
Oh,
It's a blessing to see so many people, and I pray that everyone will be encouraged to continue or to make a start.
absolutely. Yeah. I think we have some newbies here today as well. We've had newbies, those who are new to homeschooling generally, not just the Sonlight. So that's encouraging. And just you make it just sound so easy and so like this wonderful journey, which has just been so similar to many of us. I saw a few people coming at the end, but maybe if we can get them added, sister, to the Sonlight group, that would be great. And the association, the home ed support. We'll get them everywhere on all the groups that we're on.
Absolutely. Will you be able to share the recording? Yes, we'll be able to share the recording, right, sis?
Yes, absolutely, yes. I'm just going to get that sorted out. I will work with you, and then so for some, it will be shared on the groups definitely. This is why I was asking if some are on the groups.